Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving stop-and thinkers. This is LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mangoes of South Florida, and today's date is Friday, July 13th, 2018. Woo! So, this unfortunate day, they call it, right? Friday 13th. I always have a good time around that particular day. So, I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just kicking back in a little room, just cozied up for a while. It is early morning, like 8 a.m., past 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, as usual. Just decided to kick back and think about a few things. So, without being distracted. Well, interesting things are happening. Like this guy Larry Hagman's talking about getting rid of assault weapons or semi-automatic weapons. Come on, you're running for Congress. You're supposed to be a servant, not a master. You think I'm going to trust you on telling me what my natural born rights are? To hell with you, chump. That's all I have to say, because I'm very critical with these individuals, because they wanted to say, "Hey, trust us. I'm a governmental representative. I will protect you." Ultimate wet dream, to be exact. So I'm going to be talking a few areas, speaking of gun rights and so forth. And one of the things I just caught my eye a couple of days ago, or last night I would say, and it came from a site called FindingMonarch.com. Very interesting indeed. And it says here, gun rights, false flag attack, and the manipulation of public opinion in Australia and the United States. It says here, through Operation Gladio B, Orion is trying to disarm America and gut Second Amendment rights through a series of false flag attacks, mass shootings, churches, and military bases. This came out on the 11th. And this is right here about FBI working as intended. We can start off in 2018. Shooting suspect Nicholas Cruz, this in 2018 to be exact. FBI ignored repeating warnings about killer. 2017. Shooter William Atchison was interviewed by the FBI in 2016. 2016. Nightclub shooter Omar Mateen was interviewed twice by the FBI. 2013, Boston bomber Temirian Tazarnez was interviewed by the FBI. The Russians also warned the U.S. government. 2015, Charleston shooter Dylan Roof was allowed to purchase his gun because of errors by FBI agents. 2009, Fort Hood shooter Nadal Hassan was known to FBI to be dangerous and failed to notify the U.S. Army. 2017, shooter Esteban Santiago interviewed by the FBI in 2016 and told them that the government was controlling his mind. 2012, Sandy Hook shooter Adam Lanza, newly released files also suggest that the FBI and CIA interviewed Lanza before the shooting. 2012, Colorado theater shooter James Holmes thought the FBI would stop him. The FBI has never said whether it was monitoring Holmes before the shootings. 2017, Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock. FBI knew Las Vegas gunman Paddock had big gun stashes. 1997, serial killer Andrew Cunanan. FBI ignored the tip 8 days before murder and was already on 10 most wanted. He was the one that said he murdered Versace on South Beach. That's on Ocean Drive, to be exact. And of course, who's the next killer? Who has the FBI interviewed? And what does the FBI know? What is the FBI actually doing? If you start digging into dozens of news, paper articles, and published studies in the post graphics, you will begin to paint a very ugly, disturbing picture. One great quote: once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, 3 times is enemy action. Ian Fleming. FBI equals failed because idiots. Or is it really FBI failed because intended. Pharma plus SSRI equals MK Ultra? That is a question mark. Bill Cooper identified the plot in his seminal work, Behold a Pale Horse, and Laura Glaze has written of it on her WordPress site. And you can see the links for yourselves and check it out. Military bases are targeted because they are full of brave, disciplined, and well-armed soldiers who pledge to defend the Constitution, will resist an armed NWO takeover, and have access to military weaponry. Those are the last people CIA wants to pop out of the woodwork when the big takeover happens. So, they want to craft an argument for tighter on control of military firearms. Why do soldiers need those weapons when our enemies are overseas and we don't have the police to handle things at home? And they hear about the Fort Lauderdale shooter. The Fort Lauderdale shooting suspect claims government allegedly controlled his mind months before the shooting. And if I'm correct, his name is he says he had an Islamic name. It's Farouk Shaki, something like that. But he claimed he was being on ISIS, and that's why in my past episodes I talked about it on my episode about him. I'm real convinced that he is a Manchurian candidate or mind-controlled victim. And I will continue on here. Any public place will do, but the massacre of innocents in school and churches aroused a particular revulsion, caused a strong desire to curtail gun rights. Even some Republican senators, A-rated by the National Rifle Association, are willing to work across the aisles for gun control after the alleged massacre at Sandy Hook. And there's one right here. Just give you some of these photos so you can see it for yourselves. Shootings are splashed throughout the media through Operation Mockingbird, and people cry out for gun control. But of course, the answer put forward by the talking heads controlled by the CIA is never armed guards at school, which would actually stop shootings, but only the surrender of guns or gun rights by law-abiding citizens. I have written elsewhere about Mia Khalafia, a Lebanese Christian whom CIA used to distract attention from political matters in her home country and to sexualize political or religious hatred, when she did porn wearing a hijab. Although Ms. Khalafia loves Texas, continued to espouse the Second Amendment, and knew that her actions would not stop a single shooting, nonetheless, she felt a strange impulse to give her gun to the local police department and to share to the news of her 2 million followers on Twitter immediately after the school shooting in Santa Fe that what mind control can do to you is called MK Ultra. And there's see links on that as well. If the NWO plan succeeds, eventually there will be stricter and stricter gun control in America. People will have to give up their gun and gun rights or have them taken away, and only criminals will have guns. Then we'll see the crime rates they have in Chicago, where a friend of Barack Hussein Obama, Rahm Israel Emanuel, interesting middle name, that's the first time I knew about this, runs the show. Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country, but in 2016 there were over 4,000 victims of gun-related violence. And I can tell you here, compared to Chicago, compared to New York and Brooklyn. Interesting. And of course, homicides in Chicago and New York, like theirs are going down, but Chicago's going up. You can see, you can look at these yourselves. After they take our guns, our nation goes the way of Chicago, and criminals run rampant. People will cry out for law and order, giving more of their individual rights, or have them taken away. This time over search and seizure, habeas corpus, and trial by jury. Even the Guardian did an article on here. Black site reported at CBT's Holman Square facility. I remember reading about this too. Let's see what they have to say. The February 2015, the Guardian report that Chicago police operate an off-book interrogation compound rendering Americans unable to be found by family or attorney while locked inside what lawyers said is the domestic equivalent of a CIA black site. CBD denies the allegations regarding its Holman Square facility. I do remember that. I did show on that too. But let's look at Australia, where similar plans have already taken effect. Once Australians were well armed, until 1981, more than half the country's jurisdictions did not require registration of long barrel guns, and neither Tasmania nor Queensland have any registration requirements. That would change the series of shootings. In 1984, there was the Mapara massacre between rival motorcycle gangs. And in 1987, the Hoodie Street massacre and the Queen Street massacre led some Australian states to require the registration of guns to restrict the availability of self-loading rifles and shotguns. But gun laws remain relatively relaxed in Queensland and Tasmania. That's where the Port Arthur massacre occurred. Some have noted how such massacres occur close together in time, with Australian incidents following America's one or vice versa. These coincidences may be planned to achieve maximum effect, or they may be copycats of sensationalized reports. It's hard to get away from this kind of news. That's what Operation Mockingbird's all about. And like it says here, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. That's William Carney, director of the CIA, from 81 to 87. Yep, a big crap bag, right? But really, gun control came to Australia because of the Port Arthur massacre. I have attached a link below, which ascribes the shootings to Mossad, who works closely with CIA, and I suggest everyone read it. It's called the Mossad, the Port Arthur Massacre, a Mossad question. Interesting, right? That's the same thing about 9/11. You say it was a Mossad-style attack. I still call it New World Order because it's more than just one particular criminal element from each country or organization. To be fair, the plan worked. The following Port Arthur Massacre, Australia enacted the National Firearms Agreement, 1996, where there was was buyback of guns, mandatory, not optional, for 1 year. During the buyback, government destroyed for over 1 million of the people's firearms. Of course, these scum never stop, and there was still way too much freedom in Australia for their taste. So of course they arranged another shooting. So in the Lynn's Cafe siege on December 15 16, 2014, another lone gunman, Man Monis, had 18 people hostage, culminating in the death of 3 and wounding of 4. That's roughly equivalent of a weekend in Chicago. Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister of Australia, tried to characterize Monis as a political terrorist. Monis has demanded an ISO flag, and hostages were seen holding a black flag against the window where they were held. Very Orwellian orientated, right? ISIS, New World Order, Mossad Order, Mossad Finance, yeah, New World Order Finance. Oh yeah. Indeed, about what was working hard to take liberties away from Australians, and the same of fighting Muslim extremists. Only months before, the Australian Parliament enacted the National Security Legislation Amendment Bill number 1 in 2014, which granted Australian Security Intelligence Organizations, or ASIO, offers immunity for breaking the law, allowed warrantless computer searches, created greater penalties for ASIO officers who disclose information about or journalists who report on secret operations, and gave the Australian Secret Intelligence Service, or as is ASIS, Australia's equivalent to CIA, greater power to spy on its people. Oh well, I wasn't using my civil liberties anyway, so everyone's like, yeah, we'll salute you. Thank you, big brother, right? And it comes down here. However, despite the evidence of the black flag, the shooter was far from an Islamist. At different times, Monis claimed to be a Muslim cleric, an Iranian intelligence officer, a political activist, a spiritual healer, and an outlaw biker. That's an interesting combination, right? He was charged with over 40 counts of sexual assault, but he claimed ASIO had framed him. He also attended rallies promoting conspiracy theories, more and more he looks like a false flag operator, driven mad by Delta programming, and killed before he could tell his story. Exactly. And of course, this is the CIA term for conspiracy theory. Moniz was also diagnosed with schizophrenia, and in this regard, my article, Misdiagnosed, may be interesting. There's a link on here too, Mind Control, Misdiagnosis of Physical and Behavioral Symptoms. As I have written elsewhere, the intelligence agencies lie behind false flag attacks by Muslims, in which turn to provide the impetus of foreign wars and curtailment of civil liberties. This is one quote from the person I despised, made this son of a bitch rest in shame. The Muslim terrorist apparatus was created by U.S. intelligence as a geopolitical weapon. Zbigniew Brzezinski, with Lao Naval Observatory, published from 15th to 21st January 1998. So let me read this quote once again by this parasite, now deceased. The Muslim terrorist apparatus was created by U.S. intelligence as a geopolitical weapon. The 9/11 attacks are one example. Terrorist and rape jihads are another, and ISIS itself, a CIA creation, is a third. There's a lot of links on there too. You can see for yourselves. Because of false flag attacks and fears of terrorism, Australians lost many of their liberties, and the police state grew in power. Once here, why gun control? Because armed people will not willing load themselves into railroad boxcars. So, as it says here, my friend, but in terms of crime, what did the new gun control law do? It certainly did not stop the Lindt Cafe siege, but still, let's look at the numbers according to Australian Bureau of Statistics. 1 year after the 1996 buyback, gun-related homicides declined by 23%, but armed robberies increased by 45%. Unarmed robberies went up to 21%, and abduction increased by 18%. Sexual assaults increased dramatically over the next 5 years. To all you people, the firearms will make us feel safer. Is nothing more than a wet dream. Now we'll proceed in the bottom here. And what happened to the number of guns in Australia? In 2016, there were more private farms in Australia than before the buyback. And there were 260,000 unregistered guns in the country, most of them in the hands of criminals. What was the answer? Inspired by the Lindt Cafe siege in 2017, there was another national armed firearms amnesty, where law-abiding citizens surrendered 51,000 firearms, but not one of the criminals did. Don't let it happen here. Remember, free people own guns, slaves don't. Absolutely. But, yeah, it's true. And it's why if you study gun control and genocide, which I did post a video enough times in Instance Betrayed by the JPFO. Go to archive.org, look up Instance Betrayed. You'd be very surprised what you can learn. And now, no one told me, the person told me who wrote this. I was out of curiosity. I have to find out who the author of this. Didn't really see anything in here, but it's very intriguing indeed how all this goes hand in hand in the propaganda machine on television and the news. Of course, you got the March for Our Lives. You know, it's March for Our Lives, which is March for Our Lives, started by the CIA Corporation in Plantation, Florida. You have all these folks coming out. Make us feel safer. You want to blame the National Rifle Association. You want to blame President Trump. And how come these same dimwits, didn't focus on Scott Israel? I say like the mainstream news, because they're too lazy. They want us to live in fear. But one of the areas you have to look at is always how deep does a rabbit hole go. And there's times even myself, I have to always dig a little more and see patterns. It gets too obvious. But they're getting real sloppy as well. You're always going to see this, my friends. When they exploit something like mass shootings, you got to see how deep does this go. You can be smarter than them. That's the name of the game. Instead of screaming on top of the lungs at the other sheep on the tyrannical side, I call it, the treasonous side, we can throw it back at them with finesse and intellectual ammunition. We can throw plenty of monkey wrenches in there. This is why I tell everyone, never, ever surrender your firearms. Never. Don't fall for the hype, the hoopla, the deception. Hey, if there's a gun buyback program in Florida, go down there and say, hey, we'll give you double the money. Some people say, hey, this is malfunction, totally screwed up. They'll give them the crappy ones. But if you got good ones, double the money. Let's see. And you know what? It's all called private sales. It's legal in Florida and many other states as well. So, enough of that. Defy all forms of mind control, deception. More you know, more you implement, less you fear. All right, next one here. Came out yesterday as well. It's from Reason.com. It says here, hit and run blog, Florida man arrested for pot is in jail until he lets deputies search his phone. It is by Scott Shackford. Tampa, Florida, a man is in jail for contempt of court because he couldn't or wouldn't unlock a pair of cell phones to comply with the search warrant. Well, he's damn right he can do that. A case of William Montanez was arrested on January 21st, got attention last week when Tampa's Fox affiliate reported that a judge tossed him in jail for contempt because he couldn't remember passcodes on two phones deputies want to access. Sorry, buddy. Article 1, Section 12 of the Florida Constitution. If you don't know how to read, don't know how to implement, get out of your positions. That's including the judge, too. Beyond the issue of whether courts can force a person to provide the passcode to their phones, there's another issue of why exactly Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department is demanding access in the first place. Montanez's attorney, Patrick LeDuc, spoke to Reason Wednesday and provided copies of all police reports and warrants in the case. Montanez was initially pulled over by a deputy who was monitoring his car on outdoor surveillance footage and saw him leave a gas station and drive onto the street without coming to a full stop first. This is a traffic violation in Florida. The report also indicated why the deputy was monitoring Montanez in the first place, but the deputy used the traffic violation to pull Montanez over. Then things get a little sketchy. According to the deputy's officer, he requested drug-sniffing dogs to come to the scene before even approaching the Montanez's vehicle. Montanez's own vehicle was a little sketchy as well. He did not have his driver's license, registration, or proof of insurance in the vehicle. The deputy also reported smelling a strong odor of freshly sprayed masking cologne. The dog-sniffing canine was brought in to check the car. The dog indicated in the presence of drugs. This led to a search where deputies found some marijuana in a plastic baggie and in a hidden compartment in the car, some burnt roaches. Montanez acknowledged that marijuana was his for his own use. The amount of marijuana found constituted merely a misdemeanor under Florida law. The deputy also found 2 bottles of oil, which, when field tested, came back positive for THC. Oh my God, CBD oil. Possession of any amount of cannabis concentrated in Florida is a felony. He also found a gun in the glove compartment of the car, which even the gun is legally owned and licensed. As a count of the charge of possessing the firearm during the commission of a felony because of 2 bottles of THC oil. Also, they also found $1,203 in cash on Montanez. Possessing cash is not a crime, and Montanez has not been charged with any crimes in relation to having all that cash on hand. None of this explains why police want to access Montanez's phone. According to the police reports, deputy was attempting to power down Montanez's phones. While doing so, a text message popped up and said, "Oh my God, did they find it?" The report states that the text message arrived after the traffic stop, leading the officer to believe there was evidence on the phone. So the deputy seized the phone. He asked Montanez for the passcode, and Montanez declined. They submitted a search warrant to compel Montanez to supply the passcode and allow them to access all the content on both phones. But the question remains, why? The warrant application explains the contents of the phones could provide evidentiary evidence related to the 4 charges filed against Montanez, but they already have the literal physical evidence for the charges they filed. They got the drugs and the gun. Montanez is not charged with anything connected to drug trafficking. LeDuc sees a deeper motive in trying to access Montanez's phone. It's basically a fishing expedition, LeDuc says. It is an intel operation. They are seeking to get into his cell phone to see what data mining they can do. LeDuc notes that deeply who pulled Montanez over isn't some general patrol officer. The deputy himself notes on the warrant request that he's part of a street crimes team that investigates drugs and narcotics cases. In short, it is unlikely that the stop leading to discovery of drugs with any sort of coincidence. The desire to search Montanez's phone may be something bigger than securing a conviction for the charges Montanez is facing. Regardless of whether Montanez has a deeper connection to drug trafficking, he has previous arrests for marijuana possession but no felonies. The Duck doesn't believe an arrest for drug possession should logically lead to the police being permitted to search all your technology. There is no limiting principle here, LeDuc says. If the state theory is correct, if you're a dude in the street corner smoking a joint, they can demand your phone. If I enter your home, if I see marijuana, I should be able to search their laptops. Unfortunately for Montanez, the judge who handles the first court appearance lacks jurisdiction to quash a warrant, even if he or she were inclined to and could only consider whether to hold Montanez in contempt for complying. Judge Gregory Holder ordered Montanez to unlock the phones when Montanez said he could not remember the passcodes and was unable to do so. So Holder found Montanez to be in contempt and detained him. The Duck has submitted a emergency petition for the hearing in order to fight the contempt order. Montanez can be held up to 6 months unless he locks the phone or unless the court frees him. The Duck's position challenged whether deputies established probable cause to search the phone and asked the court to declare that Montanez does not have to give up his passcodes. Yes, interesting indeed. So, how deep do you want to go? Let's go fishing. Let's see how much ammunition we get this guy on. Yeah. That's how you gotta look at it. So, to be very frank, if there's no victim, how do I see a crime? So what? He had pot. Run to the damn hills, right? Was there an injured party presiding in this case? No. That's one thing about victimless crime laws. It's a big issue in the state of Florida as well. I know that for a fact. But people got to start learning during notification. No victim, no crime. It's not that, not that hard to find. You can look it up online if you got internet research savvy. Do it. I always talk about FIJA, FIJA.org, or Florida.FIJA.org. It's that simple. Learn about during notification. Remember, you call freedom of conscience. You're the most powerful person in that courtroom if you're a juror of a criminal case, not the judge or the prosecutor. A lot of these prosecutors, many of them are prostitutes. They're trying to sell themselves to you that you gotta go by the law. That's it. You don't have to. If it's a legal law, poorly implemented, you can say not guilty. You have all the evidence against them, all the laws in the books. There's no victim. How's that crime? Wish Mr. Montanez the best. So, but he should have had his license anyway. I do say the right to travel, but you always want to be prepared. And it's Tampa. Go figure. All right. I'm just looking at this here. Yeah, I'll be right back. Alright, so next we're going to be reading here came from the government executive. Came out yesterday as well. AFGE recounts eviction, union busting at federal agencies by Eric Wagner. Officials at the largest federal employee union said Thursday that agencies' recent efforts to implement a series of controversial workforce executive orders are intended to prevent them from performing duties that are required by law. In a call with reporters, American Federation of Government Employees National President J. David Cox said that union access to office space is integral to labor groups being able to meet with and represent frontline employees as required by the 1978 Civil Service Reform Act. Union leaders representing employees at the Social Security Administration, the Veterans Affairs Department, and the Bureau of Prisons said the management is moving to evict unions from office space, preventing them from taking documents off-site and blocking them for using official time and unpaid leave to represent workers. Union officials at the Social Security Administration are being stripped of access to vital tools that help represent working people, as we are required to do by law, including telephones, computers, internet accesses, and even bulletin boards, Cox said. As of yesterday, management has removed union access to all meeting rooms on agency property. In May, Mr. Trump signed 3 executive orders currently the subject of a legal challenge aimed at making it easier to fire federal employees and reducing the influence of unions in the federal workplace. One order focused on the practice of official time, where union employees are compensated for representational work, instructing agencies to cap that is 25% of an employee's work hours and to either evict unions from on-site office space or at charge rent. Last week, OPM published guidance for the implementation of the orders, and beginning Monday, federal unions began reporting efforts by management to remove them from the premises. Barry C. Bryant, president of AFGE Local 2909, which represents SSA employees in Philadelphia, said eviction from agency property combined with other management initiatives will make it nearly impossible to represent employees. They want to inspect all of our files for personal identifiable information before we remove it from the building. And they're considering that to include employees' names and things like that. So I'm expecting a lot of trouble with trying to remove these files, Brian said. In addition, they told us yesterday they won't allow us to leave without pay or in extremely limited conditions to do representative duties. So the executive orders forced us to be off duty to do representational work, Cox said. But they deny us our ability to go off duty. Katrina Lopez, vice president of AFGE Local 3172, which represents SSA employees in Fresno, California, said there are similar management efforts to prevent union officials from being able to engage in ongoing collective bargaining negotiations, circumventing a provision of the executive order that allows for official time to be used for bargaining. Our president of AFGE, Council 224, was denied the right to participate on the bargaining team for contract negotiations that are supposed to start next week, Lopez said, and they were denied the right to attend our own convention in August because they said you're in training. Lopez said her local trying to find a way to bring documents critical to its representational work off premises, but said the effort is still a test case. We currently got a 14-day suspension case, and the local president doesn't have any official time to do it. She said, we turned the case over to our legal representation fund, and I spoke with them this morning and put something in stating that they're authorized to work on the case, but management providing the information is still going to be an issue. John Kostelnik, president of AFGE Local 3969, which represents Bureau of Prison employees in Victorville, California. The administration implementation of the executive order has hamstrung the agency's ability to respond to the massive influx of detainees from the White House's zero-tolerance plan for undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers. Their attempt to silence us are creating nothing but chaos in the prison system. Some said preparation discussion with the local union will have to eliminate a lot of the issues we've seen, and a lot of these issues are in fact that we're short-staffed. We've been short-staffed since before they came, and that's just added to that. The size of the medical staff at the prison is a particular problem, says Kostelnik, an issue that has been exasperated in recent weeks. As an influx, we have seen more than 40 cases of scabies, 3 cases of chickenpox, and 1 staff member has contracted scabies and taken it home. He said these issues could have been avoided. We're law enforcement officers, some of the best in the nation, and this attack on us is going to result in death, whether it be one of us, someone in the community, or detainees or inmates. And when that happens, these executive orders will have blood all over them. Interesting indeed about the whole thing with unions and all that. And don't get me wrong, I'm support organized labor myself. There's always going to be a fine line, and both sides have to benefit. I'm just curious about one thing I know for sure about these areas. You're always going to have defaulters, and you're always going to have faulters from both sides. Plus, it's going to be issues. It's always going to be that way. But if you're going to evict union offices and stewards and all that, have stewards somewhere else, that's not good. Then that's an issue. It'd be hard for them to represent the workers in good faith. Got to go by the contracts and all that. A lot of people want to blame unions for everything. And don't get me wrong. You have your clowns in every movement, institution, and so forth. But it can hurt the good folks in these areas. So that's one of the things people got to look at, including President Trump in this issue. They have to always see these things, and this is why I don't praise him for everything either. So, like I said, even some of the stuff, I'll give him a thumbs up. Others, I will disagree. Maybe with this one as well. And, hey, you got a lot of good folks out there are being or represented. They're getting slapped in the face by having those areas, stewards offices and all that be tossed out, which is, I find that unacceptable and in good faith. All right, so we'll do one more here. This one came out a few days ago, a couple days ago to be exact, and it says here, once banned, now starting to appear on REAL.video. Prepare for massive attack against Mike Adams and the entire platform. Mike Adams wrote this himself, and as it reads here, heads up, folks. Once banned videos that were blacklisted on YouTube are now starting to appear on REAL.video. See study example below. This means the establishment is going to go attack overdrive to try to discredit me, as well as the entire REAL.video platform. You should expect to see aggressive, malicious attempt ramped up in an effort to smear REAL.video and everyone involved in the project. Yeah, I like that. Remember, the more they attack, the more they reveal the importance of the information found on REAL.video. Explosive Sandy Hook video banned by YouTube, now available on REAL.video. Thanks to the channel called News Paradigm, the world is able to see an explosive Sandy Hook video that was systematically banned by YouTube. This video describes the totally fake, bogus FBI sniper, actually a crisis actor, who also played a grieving parent. We don't know the originator of this video or the identity of the narration voice you hear, but you'll be happy to credit that person if they contact us. The video describes how elements of Sandy Hook shooting strategy were utterly and completely faked and staged as a form of elaborate theater for the news cameras. This doesn't mean children actually die at Sandy Hook. It just means that real violence was clearly augmented with fake actors to hype up the story and add theatrical elements. As I explained below, the violence is real, narrative is fake. This stunning video explains that crisis actor named David Wheeler played a role on the sloppy sniper, FBI sniper who walked around with the muzzle of his gun pointing it in random directions, carrying a sniper rifle by the magazine, indicating to every intelligent person that this individual had no actual experience whatsoever with the sniper rifle. He was stupid, sloppy actor wearing a costume for the TV cameras. He is also an actor in another low-budget film. But this is how most famous role to date is playing. David Wheeler and the sloppy FBI sloppy sniper at the same time. This video explains. CNN thinks the public is so stupid that they hope no one would notice. According to the video, Wheeler also played the role of a grieving parent that he testified before Congress as a tear-filled parent. His role in the entire affair was completely fictitious. Yet YouTube, Google, Facebook, etc. have all tried to wipe this clean from the internet, though systematic ban of all videos and articles related to David Wheeler and Sandy Hook. The evidence of a massive fakery and fraud on the part of the Sandy Hook scriptwriters is so convincing that every gatekeeper in the internet has waged an all-out effort ban of every video mentioning this. It all brings up the question, is this video just a silly conspiracy theory, or that no one would believe? Then why the all-out effort to ban it? Answer: because the video is actually a piece of brilliant journalism and independent investigation that exposes the blatant fake news fraud surrounding Sandy Hook events, where the violence was real but the news was fake. Whether you agree with this video conclusions or not, the fact is that it was aggressively banned demonstrated exactly why we need Real Video and other independent platforms with free speech that are not monopolized by Google or other evil internet gatekeepers. You see more videos every hour at www.real.video. Also be ready for a wave of malicious lies, fake news, and false accusations against myself, Real Video, Natural News, and other independent media websites. The only tactic the lying establishment has remaining is to try to smear very people telling the truth and keep the public informed. You can watch the video right here if you want. And I'm going to be doing that. Very interesting indeed. So that's a good thing about it, because now you can actually see these things, and because it's true that YouTube has been banned and they have been banning. So now you can actually do things a lot more. So I'm pretty thrilled about this. I think I'm very damn pleased, because for sure, there's always a challenge. You always gotta challenge these people, because if you don't, then they'll win. This is why you gotta always look at everything in a bigger picture. Because even with the Sandy Hook, there's always one question. According to FBI.gov, there are 0 murders happened in Newtown, Connecticut in 2012. Some people say, "Oh, it's a clerical error." Don't get defensive. That's a damn legitimate question. How come it was left there as 0 murders, never been altered? All right, so that's why you gotta always see things in a bigger picture. But check the video out and observe responsibly. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. But feel free to download and share through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or even something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, Patreon.com/Loki Luck with 3 eyes. To be a donor, that will be awesome. Give me a Gab, yours.org, oneway.com, or buddylist.c. Oh, excuse me, I went through the hiccups there. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. Or to you encrypted ones with a Proton Mail account, LokiLuck3@protonmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.